My name is Lois Caldwell. I'm 27, and I come from the kind of family that makes sure the curtains match the silverware and the secrets are buried deeper than the wine cellar. We live in Evanston, Illinois, a postcard suburb where every Thanksgiving smells like cinnamon and deception. My sister Paige? She's the heir, the star, the golden one.
Me?
I was always the sensitive one. The one who asked too many questions, who stayed up late reading files instead of fitting in. Even as a kid, I knew love in our house came with fine print. For most of my life, I thought being cut out emotionally was the worst thing they could do to me. I was wrong. This year, they made it official, and that was their first mistake. Because I didn't come home to eat. I came to burn everything down. The wine was already flowing. Paige had opened the reserve bottles from Dad's collection, the ones he said were only for special occasions. Apparently, cutting out the family's youngest daughter qualified. "Can everyone just settle?" she chirped. "I have something to say." The forks paused. Knives hovered midair. Paige stood, glass in hand, in that crimson silk dress that somehow screamed both wealth and weapon. "Mom and Dad have made a decision," she smiled, eyes on me. "They're signing the house to me. Everything's already in motion." A beat. She looked at me like someone flicking a cigarette at gasoline. "Lois, you're being cut out." Laughter. A cheer. Dad clinked his glass. Mom gave that tight smile, the one she wore when pretending we were still a functioning family. I didn't blink. I didn't look at Paige. I looked at the ceiling, then slowly back to the table. And I smiled. "You might want to check the deed again." The room went quiet. Forks dropped like dead birds. "That's not funny," Mom said, voice trembling but forced. "It's not a joke," I said. "You think you're the only one who can hire a lawyer?" Dad shifted in his chair. Paige's jaw tensed. She recovered fast, always the actress. "Sure," she said, rolling her eyes. "She's bluffing. She's broke." "You shouldn't confuse quiet with stupid," I murmured. A flash of something passed in Paige's eyes. Not fear, not yet, but suspicion. That's when I knew I'd hit the artery. "You always wanted to feel important," she spat. "Now you're making up fantasies." I reached under the table, slid a thin manila envelope across the linen cloth to Uncle Byron. He was stone silent, like always. "Former Army. Observes first, acts second." He took it without a word. "Byron, don't open that," Mom warned, the chill in her voice sharper than the wind outside. He looked at me. I nodded once. He opened it. 6 pages. Not copies, originals. Stamped and sealed. The real will. Mom's breath caught. Paige stood frozen. Dad's face lost its color. Uncle Byron said nothing. Just folded the papers and placed them into his jacket. "Where did you get that?" Paige asked, voice sharp. "You know it's worse than being cut out?" I said calm, "Knowing you were never meant to be written in." The storm outside cracked like a rifle shot. Inside, it was dead silence. Then movement. Subtle. Paige's fingers slid along her phone screen. The glow reflected in her wineglass. A flicker of a number. A login. Not family photos. A bank account. "Careful," I said, eyes still on her. "Wouldn't want to transfer anything while witnesses are present." Her fingers froze. "You have no idea what you've started," she whispered. I stood. "That's the thing, Paige," I said, my voice lower now. "I'm not starting anything." Pause. "I'm ending it." The lights flickered once. Then again. The storm or something else. I walked toward the hallway, my heels clicking like a countdown. Behind me, nobody moved. Nobody dared. "The house isn't yours, Paige." It never was. I didn't sleep. I lay in the guest room, the one they used for holiday charity cases or sick cousins, staring at the ceiling fan turn like a blade. It wasn't spinning fast enough to drown out the voices echoing from downstairs. The wine had shifted into bourbon. Paige was laughing again. That's what power sounds like when it thinks it's won. I got up at 3:11 a.m. sharp. Slid the door open slow enough not to creak. I had one goal before dawn. Verify what I already knew. The envelope I gave Byron wasn't the only copy. The real one, with ink-smudged margins and the original signature line untouched by fake notaries, was in my suitcase. Or it should have been. It wasn't. The suitcase zipper was half open. My clothes rearranged. A subtle fold in the corner of my sweater, one I would never leave. They'd searched me. I felt the burn in my chest first. Then the stillness. Anger is loud. Strategy is silent. I slipped downstairs barefoot.
Kitchen.
Fridge light flared. A bottle of water. A knife block. Keys still on the marble counter. I pulled the USB drive from my hoodie pocket and slotted it into Dad's iPad, propped beside the sink. It lit up. Password screen. I'd cracked his banking login last year. He reuses. People always do. Access. Emails. Bank wires. Legal threads. One flagged email from a burner domain. Subject. Authorization form. Page for revision.
Click.
It was the missing page. The one that would void the will if altered. This version? It had my forged signature on it. Stamped. Dated 2 months ago. I exhaled through my teeth. Quietly. I copied it to the drive. Then footstep. I pulled the USB out, killed the screen, dropped it back in my hoodie. Paige stood in the doorway.
Rob.
Hair perfect. You thirsty or just snooping? You tell me, I said, turning to face her. She didn't flinch. You really think a flash drive's gonna save you? She whispered. Truth has a longer shelf life than lies, I said. She walked to the sink. Ran water.
Slow.
You've always been paranoid.
No.
Paranoia's fear. I'm not afraid of you. You should be. The lights flickered again. I walked past her, brushed her shoulder on purpose. In the hallway, Uncle Byron stood in the shadows. He didn't move, just said low. Your mother took the original. She told me not to interfere. Did you? I asked. He looked at me. No. Then handed me a folded piece of paper. An address. Downtown. A law office. Helen Ford's name scrawled in pen. Go there. Quietly. Before noon. Why now? Because the court petition hits Monday. By then, it's game over. I took it. Nodded once. A whisper behind me.
Mom.
Bathrobe. Lipstick. It was 3:24 a.m. She said nothing. Just watched. A smile that wasn't a smile. You can't reason with ghosts. You can only outlive them. I said it softly. Not for her.
For me. Cut to morning.
I arrived at the law office. Small. Quiet. Beige walls. Receptionist gone for Thanksgiving. But Helen Ford wasn't alone. Standing next to her, holding a cup of her coffee, was Paige. My blood turned to static. Helen stood.
Pale.
I didn't know she was coming, she said. You invited her, I said flatly.
No.
She followed me. Now you sound like her, Paige mocked. God, Lois. How broken are you? You stole a signature, I snapped. You forged a revocation. You forged a life, she said. You always thought you were someone. I walked forward.
Close.
You should pray the truth stays buried, I said. Why? She whispered. Because when it surfaces, it drags bodies with it. Helen moved between us. Nervous. There's no need. There is, I said. I need the original. The will. The handwritten copy. Helen hesitated. I kept it in the vault. Then give me access. She shook her head. I can't. Why? Because someone already opened it this morning. Someone with power of attorney. I stared. She looked at Paige. Paige sipped the coffee.
Calm.
It took 2 seconds to realize what had happened. They used the guardianship clause. The old one. From when I had panic attacks at 17. They reactivated it. That made me legally unstable. Temporarily. Enough for a judge to authorize emergency custody of estate-related matters. Power of attorney. I stepped back. That's when the printer behind Helen started humming. Something was auto-printing. 3 pages. She grabbed them.
Scanned.
then paled. This isn't from my queue, she said. I snatched them. Not legal forms. Screenshots.
Page.
At a Chase ATM. Pulling $40,000 in cash. Dated last week. She moved.
Fast.
Snatched the papers. But I already had photos. One day, I said, you'll realize not everyone folds under pressure. Paige leaned in. One day, she whispered, you'll realize pressure makes diamonds or explosions. I left without another word. My phone buzzed in the elevator. Unknown number. They know. They're watching. Tonight. 2 a.m. Bring backup. The last page is missing, but I know who took it. The law office door clicked shut behind me like a warning shot. 2:08 a.m. Downtown was a ghost. Wind slicing down alleys. Storefronts dark. One flickering streetlight spun shadows like a carousel of knives. I walked fast. One hand in my coat, fingers gripping the cold USB. The other holding my phone, no service. Of course. I didn't look back. Looking back means doubt. Doubt gets you caught. The address Byron gave me was tied to a trust firm, Morrow and Leighton Level 3. I'd only been there once before. When I was 17, they made me sit in a glass room with mint water and pamphlets about compassionate conservatorship. My signature meant nothing that day. But tonight, mine was the only name that mattered. 3rd floor. Hallways stretched long. Light motion activated, blinking like a bad dream. I reached the door. Keycard locked. I pulled out the black tag Byron had slipped into the address note.
Swiped. Click.
Inside, quiet. Dust hanging midair, like secrets. The smell would polish printer ink, something stale underneath. I moved fast.
Desk.
Filing cabinet. No luck. But behind the painting, jackpot. Vault panel. Biometric plus passcode. The first part? I placed my thumb.
Green.
The second? 6-digit PIN. I typed the birth date. Not mine. Not Paige's. Our mother's. Confirmed.
Click.
The steel door creaked. Not like in movies. Real slow. Heavy. Inside, rows of folders, digital drives, old-style cassette tapes, and a fireproof box with our family name etched in brass. Caldwell. I opened it. Thick envelope. Wax seal.
Real.
I scanned the document fast. Original will. Unaltered. Dated 2014. And one more thing. A contract. Signed by our mother. Notarized. Transfer of temporary guardianship of Lois Caldwell in the event of declared emotional instability. The clause Paige used. Legally valid. But expired 2 years ago. I smiled. Burned copies to the USB. Took phone pics as backup. Then I saw it. A folder tucked beneath the stack. Labeled. Personal Video Surveillance Archive /Lois /Folder 7. My breath caught. Inside, stills. Me at school. Me at my apartment in Atlanta. Me talking to Marina. Me outside my therapist's office last winter. All time-stamped. All collected. I've been followed. Then a sound.
Click.
Lights off. Vault doors started closing. I lunged out. Just as it slammed. My shoulders scraped concrete. Vault sealed behind me. Someone knew I was here. I ran. Back into the hallway. Doors all closed. Except one. Reception. Computer screen lit. Live video feed. Security cam looping me. Footage showed me entering, standing, typing. Then something else. 10 seconds spliced in. Not from tonight. From last week.
Same hallway. Page.
Unlocking the vault. Wearing the same coat as me. Hair darker. Pulled back. I exhaled slowly.
She'd posed as me. To stage a break-in.
To fake instability, you have to recreate it in their skin. I heard that once. From Marina. I turned from the screen. Stood face to face with her. Marina.
Real. Alive.
Helen called me, she said. Said you were being set up. You think. She held up a phone. I recorded our last call. Paige mentioned your panic meds. They're expired. I haven't. She said you relapsed. That she found pills in your bag. I laughed once. No humor in it. She planted them. We moved.
Fast.
Back stairwell. No elevator. Marina hit the red exit bar. Alarm. One shrill note. Then gone. We poured into the alley. Cold wind. Trash cans clanged. A car engine revved.
Dark sedan.
No plates. Run, Marina said. We cut right.
Down the alley.
Over fence. My hand caught rust blood. We didn't stop. Another turn. We ducked into the back of a shuttered pharmacy. Heart pounding. Pulse in ears. I've got a contact, she panted. Downtown storage. He has copies. Originals. Paige didn't know about this stash. Why didn't you tell me? Because if I did, you'd already be dead. The lights in the alley buzzed. Somewhere behind us, the sedan rolled slowly past. Headlights off. They weren't just trying to ruin me. They were trying to erase me. And Byron, he knew. Maybe always had. Because he never asked why I needed the will. He just made sure I thought I had it all. By sunrise, either I own this house or they bury me under it. We didn't go home. We went underground, literally. Marina led me through a freight entrance behind a warehouse south of Halstead. She typed something into a keypad hidden behind a stack of crates. The door buzzed open. Inside, low lights, steel shelves, cold air that bit through my coat. Friend of mine used to store tax files here, she muttered.
He died.
I kept the key. Her friend used to work at Morrow and Layton, the same trust firm Paige hacked, the one I just broke into. I didn't ask questions. Not anymore. When everyone's lying, silence is the only truth left standing. Marina pulled open a locker. Inside, a small fireproof box. She flipped it open. 3 items. A phone, a flash drive, and a small black notebook with Paige's name scrawled in red ink. She handed them to me. I never gave this to anyone. But you were right. This started long before Thanksgiving. I opened the notebook. First page, a sketch of our house's floor plan. Room by room. Marked. My room had a red X over it. I'm not paranoid, I said flat. I'm just the only one not asleep. Marina didn't smile. We transferred the flash drive files to my device. Inside, offshore account records. Multiple transfers. Starting small, $5,000, $10,000. Then $75,000. Then $220,000. All pulled from the Caldwell Trust over 5 years. Every transfer authorized by P. Caldwell. Not Paige. Patricia Caldwell. Our mother. My hand froze on the trackpad. She made it look like Paige, I whispered. Or Paige made it look like her, Marina said. I stared at the last deposit. 2 weeks ago. Transferred to a shell corp in Delaware. Then routed through a blind trust in Singapore. The account name? Eleanor Burns. My grandmother's maiden name. She died in 2009. They're laundering family money through the name of a woman in a grave, I said, stunned. Dead women can't file claims, Marina said. We needed proof. And we needed timing. Court filings would hit Monday. Today was Friday. I made a decision. If I go to the press now, it dies in a one-day story, I said. No one cares about inheritance fights. But if I drop it while they try to claim power of attorney, with documents forged under a dead woman's name, in front of a judge, it becomes criminal fraud. We drove straight to Helen Ford's downtown condo. She wasn't there. The door was ajar. Papers scattered. Wineglass shattered. The apartment had been tossed. A single folder remained on the desk. My name, handwritten. Inside, 1 page. A power of attorney revocation, unsigned. She'd never filed it. They got to her first. I checked the safe under her desk, still locked. Marina crouched beside it, pressed her ear to the steel.
Tick. Click.
Unlocked. Inside, only one thing. A second will. Stamped. Certified. Signed by Richard Caldwell. Dated 2 months ago. This version? Named Paige as sole executor. But there was one problem. It wasn't notarized. And one signature line was blank.
Mine.
They needed me to sign it under duress, to make it consensual. They planned to corner me, I realized.
They still might, Marina said.
We copied everything. Left nothing. Headed for the car. That's when the streetlight popped. We froze. Across the lot, dark sedan. Same as the one from the alley. Same broken plate. No driver visible. No movement. Just presence. They're watching, Marina said. No, I whispered. They're ready. We backed away. No sudden moves. I opened the passenger door. Slid in slow. Marina took driver's seat. Hands shaking. We didn't speak until we hit the expressway. Then Marina said it out loud. They're not protecting a will. They're burying a conspiracy. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. No message. Just a location. Caldwell Estate. 7 p.m. Final settlement. No name attached. Are you going? Marina asked. I nodded once. Why? Because I'm done running from ghosts. Then what are you running toward? I looked out the window. Streetlights whipped by like blinks of a loaded gun. To the fire, I said. If I burn, I'm taking the matchbook with me. I didn't know yet what was waiting at that house. But I knew this. If I'm going down, I'm taking everything with me. We pulled into the Caldwell estate at 6:54 p.m. It was too quiet. No other cars. No lights in the windows. Are we early? Marina asked. No, I said, watching the second-story curtain shift. We're expected. The gate had been left open. Deliberately. The driveway was dry, but the lawn glistened like it had just rained, even though the sky had stayed dry all day. A warning, maybe. A message. Or just my nerves rearranging reality again. We parked close to the back entrance. Not the front. I wasn't giving them that symmetry. Stay close, I told Marina, sliding the USB into my coat's inner lining. If anything happens. Lois. She looked at me. We're already past the if. We stepped inside. Silence. Then, the click of a lighter. Uncle Byron. Sitting in the library chair like he'd never left it. A single lamp on.
He looked at me.
They know you're here. I want them to. A pause. He flicked his lighter again. Unlit cigarette between his fingers. I told you once, he said. Power doesn't corrupt. It reveals. Then let's see what Paige reveals tonight. Cut to the dining room. Dad stood at the head of the table.
Paige to his right.
Mom opposite. Empty plates set. Napkins folded. A fake dinner. I walked in. Marina, behind me. Paige smiled. You made it. No more games, I said. Where's the notary? She canceled. Of course she did. Doesn't matter, Mom chimed in. This isn't about documents. It's about family. I looked at Dad. You signed a will 2 months ago that bypassed every legal check. That's not family. That's fraud.
He didn't respond.
Paige turned her head, slow. I told them you'd come in swinging, she said. But you always burn out before the punch lands. You're projecting. She stepped forward. We've reviewed your records, Lois. Your therapy sessions. The prescriptions. You think judges don't read when money talks. You planted those, I shot back. You're unstable. You've always been unstable. No, I smiled. I've always been underestimated. I pulled out the flash drive. Walked to the flat screen on the wall. Inserted the USB.
Click.
Folder opened. I clicked play. Surveillance video.
Paige.
In the trust firm. In a wig. With my ID. Mom's breath caught. I clicked next. Audio clip. Her voice. We'll say she relapsed. No one will question it. She's never had real control. Paige stepped forward, fast. Yanked the USB. Too late. I've got 6 backups, I said. And one's already been forwarded to a legal observer. She froze. I just wanted to show you, I added, what's about to hit public record. Then gunshot. Glass shattered behind me.
I ducked.
Marina screamed. Library door burst open. A man in black shoved forward. Masked. Armed. I grabbed Marina. Pulled her behind the piano. Dad hit the floor. Get down, Byron barked. The man raised the gun. USB, he demanded. My fingers found a heavy silver candle holder. I threw it.
Hit his wrist.
Gun fired, missed. Byron tackled him. They crashed through the antique armoire. I grabbed Marina.
Ran.
Back hallway. Kitchen. Door wouldn't open. I threw my shoulder into it. We burst into the night air. Tires squealed. A second car at the curb. Unmarked. No plates. I pushed Marina toward the fence. Climb. She scrambled. I turned back. Byron limped from the house, gun now in his hand. He fired once. The masked man dropped. But another shot rang out. Window exploded. Paige stood with a revolver. Not shaking.
She aimed again.
Run, Lois. I didn't hesitate. We cleared the fence. Ran through 2 yards. Back to the car.
Keys.
Shaking hands. Marina fumbled. Drive. I yelled. We hit the road. Sirens faint in the distance. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. 1 line of text. We found the contract. Eleanor Burns wasn't just an alias. She was a partner. I stared at the screen. They're not just covering up fraud, I said. They're covering up a whole damn operation. Marina gripped the wheel tighter. Where do we go now? I looked out the window. My reflection cracked by city lights. I'm going home. I walked into the house through the back, like I had as a teenager when I missed curfew and didn't want to explain where I'd been. This time, there was no one left to lie to. The silence wasn't empty. It was charged. Byron stood in the hall, blood seeping through his shirt. He held a kitchen towel to his side like it was nothing. You good? I asked. He nodded once. They're waiting. Of course they were. The dining room had been reset. Table redressed. Candles relit. Paige in black. Mom pale. Dad sitting like a ghost in a suit. I walked in and dropped the flash drive onto the center plate. Play it, I said. No one moved. Then Paige reached. Clicked the laptop open. Inserted the drive. TV lit up. Footage rolled. Our mother, seated in her room, talking to Helen Ford. She didn't know she was being recorded. She's too curious, Mom said. Lois always was. Helen, you think she suspects? A pause. She doesn't just suspect. She knows. Another file.
Paige.
Standing over a man in a car, the same dark sedan that had chased us through Evanston. Audio scrambled, but clear enough. If she talks, she disappears. Understand?
Cut.
Final clip. A copy of the bank transfers. Offshore accounts. The trust being drained for years. Silence after it ended. Then Paige laughed.
Dry. Cold. Well.
Guess it's all out now. No, I said. Not all. I pulled out the final document. The printed contract from the firm. Notarized under the name Eleanor Burns. I held it up. Your fake power of attorney, I said. Filed under a dead woman's identity. Forged in a state that criminalizes identity fraud with a 5-year minimum. I laid it on the table. Paige didn't blink. Do it, she said to Mom. Mom didn't move. I said do it. But Mom stayed frozen. She's not going to, I said. Because I sent it all. Every file. Every transfer. To the Attorney General's office. To the press. To 3 separate investigators. The wheels are already turning. Sirens wailed in the distance. Closer. Do you hear that? I asked. Mom stared at the candles. They won't believe you, Paige hissed. They don't have to. The signatures speak louder than any of us. Police lights flashed outside. Byron stepped aside from the hall. Marina opened the front door. Uniforms poured in. Everything slowed. Mom turned to Dad. Whispered something I couldn't hear. He nodded. Then stood. Enough, he said. I did this, he added, to the officers. Paige snapped. You coward. I forged it, Dad continued. All of it. To protect the family. He held his hands up. They cuffed him. Then Mom. Then Paige. Cameras from the press trailed in seconds later. One shouted, Lois, are you the whistleblower? I didn't answer. I walked out. Night air sharp.
Cold.
Marina waited near the gate. They'll try to spin it, she said. They can try. You did it. No, I said. I survived it.
She didn't argue.
I turned back once. The Caldwell house. My childhood. My battlefield. My proof. They say the ones who tell the truth always lose something. They're right. I lost the illusion that family means protection. But I gained something better. Freedom. You don't get to choose the family you're born into. But you can choose what you do with the ashes. They tried to erase me. But I rewrote the ending.